This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I am Anthony Mormino. As the temperatures have certainly taken a dip, but I understand they're supposed to bounce back, but it's the middle of November. Anything is in the hopper.
They better bounce back. I heard on the forecast I was driving in. Wind chill 12 degrees. I don't think I heard wind chill in a long time. But
I don't like that term at all. And somebody put on Facebook yesterday that there might have been snow flurries in the greater New York City area.
Oh, well,
flurries of some sense. And somebody told me there might be snow in the hill towns.
Did you watch Finger Lakes yesterday?
No, I did not.
Towards the end of the program, Tony Kalo could not see the starting gate on the backstretch. I mean, literally had to wait for him to come in the front stretch.
Yeah, because
they got hit by a squall that blew through there.
If you saw the charts, or you download charts like I do, you got nothing. It was like one of those days at the Big A, either fog or snow. Matter of fact, the first one, I wasn't on board Finger Lakes for the first race yesterday, a little late to the trigger, no 1 o'clock. There's no teletimer. So I got to find out what happens. If I don't find out in the next week, maybe we can ask Tony Kalo, because usually the teletimer still shows up when the visuals is a problem. But if you look at the charts for the first race yesterday, no teletimer came up, and then
the first race, because the snowstorm hit probably the 7th or 8th.
Right, and you see a bunch of asterisks later on in the card when they have no running positions, because that is a visual effect. And a quick note, starting next week, we're going to be tackling a few, about one a day, little help prompts for the new capitalotbbet.com. We invite your thoughts about how to use the website easier. If you email us at viewermail@capitalotb.com, we'll take them in some semblance of order. If we find that one seems the most popular question, Seth and I will try and walk you through it, maybe one a day, and get everybody up to speed on this latest account wagering for capital off-track betting, which we think once you get past a couple of the initial hurdles, you'll find it to be infinitely better system than the old, as that is the way technology works. But when there are changes in the air, we think maybe perhaps we can handle a couple questions, and thinking that maybe one solid question a day, one lesson, get it done, move on. I don't think it'll take too long for us to get everybody up to speed on the new capitalotbbet.com.
And shout out if you have a question, because it's hard for us to. I jumped on the site, and really within 5 minutes, I was up and going, just because I bounced around the internet enough now. So it's hard for me to kind of decide what to address.
What's not working for you?
Jump on board. Shout out viewermail@capitalotb.com. If you've gone on capitalotbbet.com and you've had a problem doing something specific, let us know, and then we can point you to where you'll click and pull down a menu or whatever and help you out there. Don't forget also, you can always contact customer service, but we'll address some of that on the show over the next week or so if you have specific questions. So yeah, by all means, shout out if you've had a problem.
Yes, I mean, because once in a while you just have to click the right button, and it seems to
like I say,
work out.
I was up and running pretty quickly, but I had bounced around some of these platforms before, so for me it wasn't that big a transition. But if you're having a problem, have it addressed, because it is really an update.
One
of the things I really like is the fact that you can monitor 5 tracks at a time. And usually I'll dip in maybe 3 deep. I'll be playing at a similar time, but there's a potential there. Your main track is up there. You have 4 smaller little live icons from the other racetracks you're watching
getting
as
close
they approach
to
the post, right?
Post and
then
click it up.
Boom, you bring that up to your main
Because
screen.
trust us, once you get through the hurdle of learning, it is better / easier. When our son was in pre-K, his teacher had a poster there that I have quoted to my son often. I think now he's at the point where I know what it says there, and that is, shows a little boy at Yankee Stadium in the outfield that says, "Every expert was once a beginner." I mean, we'll all start on the road of the technology, but once we get you through it and everything, it'll be a wonderful experience. But as Seth said, it's going to be better / easier if you tell us what the stumbling blocks are, because it's that old adage, what would you know if you didn't know what you didn't know? So we don't know what the stumbling blocks are that are out there, but you let us know, and then we will do our best. And Seth and I are adept enough to getting, like Mozart around the world. The guy runs a website, so we'll get you through it. Don't, or as I like to also tell my son, there are no bad questions. Even though once I was in the company of somebody that asked me, do the same horses run every day? That's the closest I've gotten to a dumb question, but even that one, baseball players play every day.
Rick Dutrow has had a couple of his come back.
So, this is, so I was like, not even that one. There are no dumb questions. There certainly are no bad questions, and we're here to help because, as we said a couple of weeks ago before the Breeders' Cup ran, when our president, John Signori, came on Saturday morning, last part of Handicappers Report, there is a level of trust, and trust us, it's better and more enjoyable than the previous format. So that's what we have for you. Just viewer mail at capitalotb.com. Just jot down, if you have 6 questions, just jot down the 6. We'll collect them all, and then we'll take, if one shows up 25 times, we'll put that to the head of the class.
Absolutely.
And walk you through that and maybe clear it up for 25 people, then move on to the 17th mentioned item. We'll get you through it for the winter racing, which in a couple of days, not on Thanksgiving, but Fairgrounds is going to open up in a couple of days. The Saturday, I think it is, before Thanksgiving. I want to say the 22nd, I think they're opening.
It is early this year. I was talking to Jim Mulvihill, who's now with the NTRA, and last year he was one of our regulars.
Yes,
from
Jim.
Fairgrounds during the meet. And I said he's going to head back down for Thanksgiving because his wife is still down in New Orleans. Jim now works for the NTRA. And he said not going to make it down for Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving, he noted, was not it traditionally has been an opening day. It's not this year that we'll have the big Thanksgiving.
I know a couple
down
years
there,
ago
but it's a little earlier
they
this
did the
year.
weekend also before, but they were on the Thanksgiving Day handicap, etc. And Dick Powell, our colleague and friend, told me once years ago, sort of like Del Mar opening day, etc. It might sound odd for people to have opening day on Thanksgiving, but it's a cultural happening. Like they're into it. It's not one of those things like today has to be opening day, but it sort of is well thought of in the community of New Orleans. So
you just casually tossed Del Mar in there, though. I think Del Mar and Saratoga and Del Mar opening day is an event unto itself. That's their big day of the meet, right?
It is amazing that, and they've worked at it. It just goes to show you where you put your energy. It's bigger than Pacific Classic Day.
Yeah, it's their big day.
And I've said this before a couple of years ago when we were doing Capital Sports Talk. I was working with James Allen of the Times Union. That opening day at Del Mar, I specifically looked at every baseball game that day. And so figuring that baseball, I think it was the largest crowd at any sporting event in the United States because no soccer game would supersede it. And I think no baseball game had more than I think they had 40,000 that year on opening day. So it was the largest. It's quite, apparently I've never been there for racing, but it's quite a happening. But we have Churchill Downs and the Big A to get to.
That's the game plan, and we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Well,
there aren't any flurries down in New York. I'm imagining Finger Lakes was probably the first viewer-hindered weather situation of the 2013-2014 winter season. I haven't seen any other tracks with a situation like that. And literally, Tony Kalo could not pick up the horses until they hit about the 16th.
I ever tell you my favorite? I don't know what Tony Kalo did yesterday, but my favorite
He was essentially reduced to reading the past performance.
Okay, that's pretty
Well,
funny.
they've left the gate. I expect this horse to be out in front because they're showing speed, and the other horse comes from the back. So we'll see what happens when they come to the stretch, and he continued that until he could see him.
Years and years ago, the late Bob Williams, who was the racetrack caller at Monmouth that I grew up with, they had fog at Monmouth Park, which I don't remember seeing too often ever. I've seen races there regularly for a long time. And it was a two-turn dirt race, and they started, and he, you could see him. They're right under his chin. He goes, blah, 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 and now they're going into the turn loss. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, you're on your own. And then he rejoined them when they came back around. I thought that was the most clever way to go about it.
Yeah, it is certainly a hazard of the profession. All right, we'll look at Aqueduct a little later on, but I'll kick things off heading into the opener at Churchill Downs. 25 to 30 tags for these maiden claimers. These are two-year-old fillies going the one-turn mile.
And as I mentioned the other day when we got a little shake-up on Sunday and I got to do the Big A after a couple of rough days at Churchill Downs, it did shake out the cobwebs. We kept the double-digit winners coming yesterday, mutual double-digit mutuals yesterday at Park. So a good Monday, Tuesday at Parks. We're back at Churchill Downs. 7-8-6, ladies and gentlemen, in the opener. And number 7, Athenian Beauty, is a type of horse that, boy, I'll tell you, they couldn't write enough of these type of races. I talked all last winter about the maiden claiming races and the finale at Gulfstream Park and turf pedigrees and outstanding betting races. Well, similarly, but a 1 mile dirt race, I find Athenian Beauty making the second career start. This is an offspring of Corinthian. You might recall him as a Metropolitan handicap winner. He won the inaugural Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile that I think, Seth, was at a mile 70 that year at Monmouth Park in the off-going on Friday. Well, the career debut was on Polytrack at Keeneland. Not very interested in that non-effort, but now comes back, gets dirt, gets a one-turn mile. They're going to add blinkers this afternoon. Comes down $20,000 after debuting for $50,000. Comes back at $30,000. He also gets Noberto Arroyo back in the saddle for Phil Simms, not the quarterback. My point being that at 8-1 on the morning line, I find much attractiveness in number 7, Athenian Beauty. I guess no puns intended for this 2-year-old filly. For second, next door on the starting gate, number 8, Golden Annie, going out for Eddie Keneally. And if you've been watching the early part of this meet, Eddie Keneally going very, very well. This runner showed little to nothing in the career debut when breaking from the rail at Saratoga, going 6th. And then the offspring of Divine Park, another Metropolitan winner, woke up and raced very well, going 2 turns on the Polytrack. Joe Rocco Jr. was aboard the first 2 career starts. He has to mount back, running for 30 once again, getting back to 1 turn and the dirt. For third, number 6, Seattle Sass, who is 30-1 on the morning line and figures to be all of that, runs for a tag this afternoon for the first time, an offspring of Chief Seattle, a top 2-year-old in 1999. Will run on Lasix for the second time, so I'm going to take a flyer on this runner for a small piece. But 7-8-6 in this afternoon's opener from Churchill Downs.
Race number 2 from Churchill this afternoon. It is a calendar condition claimer, claiming tags $5,000. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. They will go 7 furlongs.
6-9-5, ladies and gentlemen. My selection's in the second, and Triple Dog Daria going out for my top pick in the most recent effort. An off-the-board finish, but a strong effort coming from off-the-pace sprinting, where this offspring of Devil Is Due now goes an extra furlong and a half. I've talked about the running style that we tried to, while we're going through a rough patch last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it was really rough. Why? Because I thought I was on board with the way the racetrack was playing, and it was, but my horses just wasn't working out. But I have said before that this racetrack, to me, I want horses with a running style of off the pace, moving really into contention about the 3/8 pole, and then getting into it in the lane, about the 4-path also. So Triple Dog Daria, I'm not so sure an offspring of Devil Is Due would be best at 5.5. Gets 7 this afternoon, coming off an off-the-board finish at Indiana Downs. I like the 6 on top. For second, the outside horse, number 9, Actin' Ugly, who's 10-1 on the morning line. The most recent effort was a route on the dirt at Indiana Downs. This horse showed a little bit more speed, but that was a function of the pace. Not so much this horse had picked up early energy. There's going to be the type of early energy that's going to leave my pick about 4 or 5 lengths off of it. Hopefully it will be out wide. I know it sounds backward, but for an offspring of Action This Day, a nice 7 furlong race here off the pace, middle of the track, might be a winning formula. For third, number 7, Sweet on Rich. Greg Foley's having a terrific go of this. This horse has never been off the board in 5 tries at Churchill Downs. Corey Lannery, the mount, 6.95 in the second from Churchill.
Third race at Churchill for this afternoon is a plain vanilla claimer at the $50,000 level. These are 3-year-olds going 1 mile.
216, my selections in here. And Belief System goes out for Michael Maker, the Ramseys, and offspring not of Read the Footnotes. And something, Seth, that I've been talking about for years and years on the Handicappers Report that has got much publicity since Mucho Macho Man has been a major player, and that is these June foals in the United States. Boy, you are swimming uphill for a very long time. And we're still, as a 3-year-old, in that part of swimming uphill with Belief System. It is, first off, we don't drop very many foals in the United States for June. Why? Because you're always up against it. You're so darn young. But I love the pedigree in here, and I am going to be a sad camper when Lord at War is no longer being read in the past performances. And trust me, that day is coming much sooner rather than later. One of the greatest versatile pedigrees to see for you. This horse, very sharp, 2 races back. That was in September at Churchill, going 6.5. Just got beat a neck at 9-5. Mike Maker obviously having a very strong meet. For a second, the rail, number 1, Broken Key. Steve Margolis, runner, takes on Winners for the first time after a very strong victory, racing a mile 16 at Churchill Downs for a tag. For third, number 6 going out for Ken McPeak, making the second start since Labor Day. It tried non-winners of 2 other than on the turf at Keeneland. That would resemble very little, or would have very little in common with today's one-turn dirt mile. 216.
You talked about Lord of War disappearing. The sire of the sire, Read the Footnotes, Smoke Lack, and I believe he was pensioned the other day.
Pensioned, yeah. Yes.
Fourth race at Churchill Downs this afternoon, a plain vanilla claimer at the $40,000 level. 3-year-olds and up. They're on the turf at 5 furlongs.
I think Lord of War might have been pensioned about 15 years ago. At least when you get pensioned, you have a good run-up. You still have crops. But that's another example. Like when you're 34 years of age and the horse comes on the landscape and now they're pensioned, you're thinking, I've been around a long time. 3-10-7, ladies and gentlemen, my selections in here. And Prado Dash is my top pick here, going out for Ian Wilkes. At Churchill Downs, has a couple of victories, but those were route victories. Now, the way I think the race is setting up this afternoon, Prado Dash is not a turf sprint specialist. Matter of fact, has never really done this, but I looked at this race, and I think on paper, and I always like to say that when talking about horse racing, Seth, there should be almost half the field on the engine. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that the start or the jockey's intent can be so radically different than the daily racing form is showing me, that there should be multiple pace setters. And I'm thinking also multiple pace pressures. So, Prado Dash, who is really a miler, an offspring of the brilliant El Prado. This is not his game to date, but I just thought the race setup with Brian Hernandez being inside, I don't think that's going to matter as much because there is so much speed in this race. Just to give you a couple numbers here for folks, the 4, the 6, the 8, the 9, the 11. Also, just to note, the 12, the 13, our main track only. So one thing I came across, Seth, that I think I figured out at Churchill Downs, and you don't do Churchill very often, but they take also eligibles beyond the number 16. I don't think anyone else does that, and then I realized why they do. Can you figure it out? You never see 17 except at Churchill Downs, I bet, and it finally dawned on me why they do it. No guesses?
No, I have no
The
idea.
Kentucky Derby. Because they're set for 20, because of one horse race. When they went to 20 single betting interest set, they had to develop saddle clause for the numbers 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Nobody else uses them. But if you watch, when you watch Naira or anybody, remember I was telling you, Jeff Carl told me about the overnights and horses that are excluded. They only take 16. But then I noticed in this race, I said 17. What the heck they do? I said, well, they have the Derby. So they have the saddle cloths. They have the tote board. They're all set for it. So, folks, this is the full field in here. Is the 11, is 12 horses in here. So I have a AE is 14, 15, 16, 17. Main tracks are Wildcat Country, Radiant Talent, Smooth. So it's a little confusing, but I just think the race sets up where I have to, shouldn't say that, get pace in here. And I wanted somebody that wasn't part of it. And Prado Dash is inside. I think it's going to set a good trip with pieces to pick up in the lane for the first time sprinter. Number 10, going out for Mike Tomlinson and Norberto Royal. He's a horse I think that will be in the first flight after the speedsters. And for third, number 7, Great Attack. This horse is certainly part of the mix, folks. He might have a race set up good for him. He is a sprinter on the turf, but I'm slow to take a short price in here. A very contentious, exciting race, quite frankly. 3, 10, and 7.
Fifth race this afternoon at Churchill Downs. Maiden claim are $12,500 to $15,000. These are 2-year-olds going 7 furlongs.
9-1-8, my selections here. And number 9, Rojo Inferno, who's running for a tag for the first time. That's not unusual, but I think it is sometimes unusual when you're making your 4th career start that the first 3 times you tried to run were all off the turf races and you stayed in. So this Offspring of Noble Causeway. Today, though, runs for a tag. Also shortens up to a sprint off of races where there has been a fatigue issue. For a second, number 1, scheduled to break for the number 3 post position. That's Hoosier Neighbor. This horse, the last couple of races, I'm just going to toss out, breaking from the rail. And I do think it's a world of difference breaking, hopefully, for the number 3 post position versus the rail. Also runs for a tag for the first time today. For third, number 8, Buck James. He's 7-2 on the morning line. And Ron Moquette's runner, ran much better in the second career start. Still getting beat by a baker's dozen when running on an off racetrack for the Offspring of Macho Uno. 9-1-8 in race 5 from Churchill.
All right, we'll take our first break. When we come back, a continued look at Churchill Downs. A little later on, Aqueduct. Stay tuned.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV network. Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Wednesday morning. Race number 6 at Churchill Downs this afternoon. A claimer, $45,000 to $50,000 tags. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 3/4 of a mile.
9-3-10, ladies and gentlemen, and Infliction is my top pick, and moving in the right direction. And first time in for a tag, the most recent effort, lost at 5-2. An angle that certainly I understand the bettors going that direction, but. We lost at that price at $50,000 at Keeneland. Now we're going to run at Churchill Downs when the one dirt try in the career for number 9 was a 3rd place finish off of a couple days off. Come back in here for the tag. The Offspring of Stormy Atlantic Might even be a better price than the defeat at 5-2. For second, number 3, More Than a Song. Steve Asmussen's runner raced well at Kentucky Downs on the turf. Now tries back to the dirt. Runs for a tag for the first time. The offspring of More Than Ready. And for third, the outside runner, number 10, 5-Star Dixie, an offspring of 5-Star Day, making the first start for a tag in the third career start. Raced well in the debut at Churchill Downs back in June of 2012. Went to the sidelines, didn't return until March. Comes back today. I have to tell you that I was a little leery of 2 races, 2 significant layoffs, but 5-Star Dixie does intrigue me at a big price this afternoon, going out for a Scooter Dickey, 9-3-10.
Race number 7 this afternoon at Churchill Downs. A B-level claimer, $25,000 to $30,000 tags. 3-year-olds and up, they'll go 6 furlongs.
3-5-2, ladies and gentlemen, for me. And number 3 is Salt Free. Double-digit odds on the morning line at 10-1. And I think there's a lot to like for this runner. I guess the one thing I would be a little leery is maybe we're running against the grain of the track. But let's see after a couple of dark days. The one thing I'm not worried about is the most recent effort was at Keeneland on the poly. I'm going to sort of dismiss that effort and go back to the dirt races where in 10 previous career starts has been in the exact half of the time. For second, number 5, Marchwood exiting a very, very strong pace race at Indiana Downs for Tommy Amos. Scored the victory in an entry-level allowance. Now stops in here for a tag. For third, number 2, Gray Bayou. First off the claim for Buff Bradley off of a good effort at 7-1 on the poly track. Is 1-for-8 lifetime on the dirt. Another horse that I think fits a running style that intrigues me with Corey Lannery. 3-5-2 in race 7.
Race 8 this afternoon is an allowance. Non-winners have won other than 3-year-olds and up on the grass at a mile.
7, 8, 9 as we go the mile at Churchill Downs. And Cougar Ridge is my top pick. Horse started their career in Ireland, has had 2 starts in the United States. They're going to add blinkers this afternoon. The first 2 starts for Eddie Keneally, I think, certainly something you can build on when coming back to the United States. A good third-place finish at Kentucky Downs. Followed that up with an off-the-board good third at Keeneland. Now, this horse has been the beaten favorites in the first 2 starts in the United States. This has a look of a runner where adding blinkers today, when this horse hasn't seemed to want to be in the mix early, might be a smart sharpening move. For second, number 6, Bat in the Hatches. Now, this horse is only 1-for-15 lifetime. In the 14 losing races, has hit the board in all but 1. Part of my mix. And for third, number 9, Bold Challenger, an offspring of Exchange Rate, who was 1-for-7 lifetime, has never started on anything other than the turf. Will need to cut out a little bit of a trip. I have to think that Robbie Alvarado, who has ridden this horse on the 2 most recent efforts, is going to try and employ more early speed and try and hold on versus an off-the-pace type of style. 7, 8, 9.
Race number 9 at Churchill Downs this afternoon. A conditional claimer, $40,000 to $50,000 tags. Non-winners at 2 lifetime. The condition, 3-year-olds and up, 6.5 furlongs.
6-3-1, ladies and gentlemen. And I talk about how Keeneland stopped running the 7 furlongs plus 184 feet. Boy, 6.5 furlongs used to be a very popular sprint distance at Churchill Downs, and they've run it less often. But Mary Lou Whitney and Ian Wilkes send out number 6, Prescott Brown. They're going to add blinkers this afternoon. Second race versus winners after being a powerful maiden claiming winner 2 races back. And then first time versus winners in an allowance race. Ran very, very well with Dylan Davis and now steps into a high-priced claimer restricted. For second, number 3, Al Stahl sends out this runner for the first start since April 6th. Now, this horse won its career debut for a tag. The only other time this horse ran for a tag, 1 year, 11 days ago at Churchill Downs. Off of this type of layoff, Al Stahl is nearly 35%. For third, number 1, Royal DeHare. Breaks from the rail, second time versus winners after being a nice winner on August 26th in the 8th career start at Indiana Downs, and then caught slop versus winners the first time. 6-3-1.
Finale today at Churchill is a maiden special weight event. These are fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Grass, 1.16 miles.
5-4-10 is my final, my selections in the final race, and I want that is my top pick. Very attractive runner here. Draws well, an offspring of hard spun, middle distance turf for Lon Wiggins. Has had a couple of races under the belt. The two most recent of the 3 career starts have been on the turf. That being said, the most recent race was 4.5 months, August 10th. So comes off of a freshing. Chris Amy was aboard that afternoon at Arlington Park, and I thought a good effort. Just, got tired in the lane. I don't know if going to the sidelines after that August race meant something went wrong or they just wanted a little freshening after fatigue set in, but I want that, who posts very well in here, intrigues me. For second, number 4, Civility Pledge. Now, this horse debuted on the poly track at Keeneland, then has had 3 subsequent turf efforts, and the 2 of them have been very sharp, including the October 19th off the January 27th layoff, looking for the hard spun exacta. And for third, the outside horse of the main body, number 10, Tis a Treat, 11, 12, 13, 14, also eligibles in this afternoon's finale from Churchill.
That wraps up Churchill Downs. We'll take our next break. When we come back, Aqueduct. Stay tuned. The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest. Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Listen to what people are saying about the Clubhouse Racebook.
I've been coming here for well over 30 years to the OTB, and I think this is an outstanding facility. Probably comparable to something you'd see in Vegas. They have the big screens there, and then they have the auxiliary screens for, watching all the tracks. And the primary tracks of the day, they'll switch to the big screens, which is ideal for most of us race guys. We like to see the big races on the big screen. Well done.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I am Anthony Mormino. Time for the Big A to reopen this afternoon. 9 races on the card, 3 on the turf, including the opener. 3-year-olds and upclaimers in for $30,000. Non-winners of 2 races a lifetime, or 3-year-olds racing a mile on the turf.
And just going back to yesterday at Finger Lakes, a couple of winners on top, but my bees, the Killer Bees yesterday.
Bees.
5 second choices won. There was, 3 reverse exactas. So my picks were all up in there. As an exacta player, I was happy, but a little light on the top side. So we'll see what we can do today at Aqueduct. 3, 10, 6, and 8. The number 3, Save the Best. Just one of those horses that I think has a numbers edge. You look at the last couple of races, and the buyer figures say that this horse probably has just a little bit of an edge on this particular bunch. So we'll put Save the Best on top. Second spot, we will look at the number 10, Odeon. Just looks live in here. A fairly lightly raced 4-year-old, only 5 career starts, a win and a second in those career starts. Those were back at Santa Anita for John Sheriffs. John Sheriffs seemed on the move to New York, get off to a little bit of a slow start, but over the past couple of weeks has come to life a little bit. Subsequently, he's moved back to California for the wintertime, but still has some horses in New York. So Odeon, again, I think looks live class-wise, and then with this particular bunch, we'll throw that one into the mix. Third spot, the number 6, I'm Wide Awake. A couple starts back, was at the $25,000 level and showed some nice life. Comes back to 25 today. The numbers are improving, and I think back at the proper level. So I'm Wide Awake gets in the hunt also. 3, 10, 6, and 8 in the opener.
I don't think it was talked about much, I think because we on the East Coast sort of lumped Southern California, but John Sheriffs was very much a Hollywood Park guy. Not so much a Santa Anita or Del Mar. He was really a Hollywood
Zenyatta was based
Park
in
guy.
Hollywood.
He was stationed there. He liked training there and everything. So I think I think one time he mentioned it when he was first talking about why he came over here, and I think he mentioned the
You heard the bell tolling?
Oh, yeah, the upheaval at Hollywood Park, and that was his base. On to the second half of the early daily double. 3-year-olds and up, claimers in for 15,000. Non-winners at 2 lifetime, or the 3-year-olds. They're also racing a mile, but these will be on the dirt.
The one entry, 5, 2, and 8. The number one, plain one is Puget Sound. The 1A, LOL. I think both of them are legitimate in here. Puget Sound on the class drop, and LOL won this condition last time, excuse me, but was disqualified. So why not come right back? I mean, certainly we found a comfort level here for this horse. So I think both of these parts of the one entry are absolutely legitimate in this race today. Schertzer, the number 5 horse. This one seems best on the numbers to me, and I would have been tempted to put this horse on top for Bobby Barbera, but hasn't had a win in the last couple of racing seasons. 11 starts this year, no wins. Been in the money, but no wins. Last year, 4 starts, no wins. So this is one of those, and I always do like to quote the guys from the NYRA pregame show, seems a little camera shy, perhaps. So Schertzer on the talent looks good enough, except just does not like to get up there in the win position. Number 2, V's Accolade in the 3rd spot, popular at the claim box, but not so popular in the winner's circle. Similar to my second choice there, this is a horse over the last 2 seasons, just has not been able to get a win, but now does move into the barn of Rudy Rodriguez, and you would think, well, first off the claim for Rudy might be a good angle. Well, if you look down the past performances, you see a couple of those claims on the page. As I say, this horse has been popular in the claim box. A couple of those have been for Rudy Rodriguez. He hasn't been able to get this one in the winner's circle either. Good enough to be up there in the hunt, no question about it. But as I say, like the other shot I had in there that was showing a couple of goose eggs, just can't jump on with a lot of confidence on the top side, but I think they'll be in the mix. Second race today, the one entry, 5, 2, and 8.
On to race number 3, we have Open Company, 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares, optional claimers in for 62. Non-winners at 2, other than going 6.
2, 5, 1, and 3. The number 2 is the Princess. I'm just looking for a theft job in here to go out there and steal this one on the front end. I think this horse from Rudy Rodriguez and Michael Dubb will prove to be the speed, and so it's a pace play in here. The Princess on top. Second spot will go out to the number 5, Trail Walker. Solid win both this track and trip last time, so proven on the track, at the distance. For Linda Rice, I think Trail Walker could be dangerous in here. And then in the 3rd spot, the number 1, Edie. The surface switch is the big question mark. This horse on the numbers, pace and whatnot, the cutback and distance all make this horse very, very interesting to me. But been racing most recently on turf, so the move back to the dirt may be a little bit of a question mark in here, but I'll throw that one into the mix. In the 3rd race, 2, 5, 1, and 3.
On to the 4th race, New York State Breds. These are for 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares on the dirt, going 7.
6, 8, 4, and 1, and I will say the number 2, the first-time starter, Countess Twice, is one when I got down into the mix a little bit. I debated, just didn't put it in mind, but Steve Asmussen, first-time starter by Utopia, Countess Twice is one. Yeah, take a look at if you're playing around. Certainly if one of these others scratches. But I have it again, 6, 8, 4, and 1. The number 6 is Live Life Fast. I think with the improved post position, this horse might get a wake-up also with the move to the dirt. First 4 starts were on the turf by Bernardini out of an Unbridled Song Mayor. I think this horse will be okay on the dirt. Again, the last couple of starts, hung out in the 12 post, both of those starts. Moves into the middle of the field today. So the move to the dirt, I think, could prove beneficial, actually, but certainly the post position is going to be an improvement. Second spot, 20 to 1 on the morning line. I debated putting this horse on top. Gina Antonucci trains, got, I think, some decent education in the first start, well beaten, but was kind of up in the hunt in the middle of the race. That was 7 furlongs on turf. 7 furlongs, always a tough distance, but this horse is by Langfier. So I think with the breeding, this horse is maybe meant to win sooner rather than later. We'll see, but as I say, 20 to 1 on the morning line, second career start with a little breeding that intrigues. I think Lloyd Harbor could prove interesting in here today. And then in the 3rd spot, the number 4, Rock and Cozy. Just showing some signs of life on occasion. It's one of those races where none of these are just absolutely jumping off the page. So I think you can roll the dice a little bit with some horses like this one that has had 19 shots and hasn't gotten it done, but has been second or third 11 times. So again, has shown some life, and I think looking at the rest of the field, Rock and Cozy can be right up in the mix. So for me, in the fourth, I have it 6, 8, 4, and 1.
On to the fifth race, Open Company, 3-year-olds and up, maiden special weights on the dirt, racing a mile.
7, 10, 6, and 2. I will mention number 4, Winter Games, goes out for Jeremiah Engelhart. Winter Games debuted middle of August at Monmouth. You see Karen McLaughlin's name there. Subsequently now running for Jeremiah Engelhart, and I looked it up. This rang a bell, and sure enough, this was one of those Darley horses that was sold right up here at Saratoga in their October sale. Sold for $35,000 up here in that horses. It was a mixed sale, actually, but this is one of the, obviously, the horses of racing age. This one is a sibling to the stakes winner, Captivating Lass. Again, started the career for Darley, threw in a dud in the career debut at Monmouth. Subsequently, they culled some of their stock, so it was purchased and moved into the barn of Jeremiah Engelhart. I don't have Winter Games in the mix, but there is a little bit of a story there if you're looking at that one. Instead, again, I put on top the number 7, Clever Story. Goes out for Todd Pletcher. Midnight Loot Runner ran pretty well in the career debut. I think will benefit from that and move forward. Clever Story on top. Second spot will go out to the number 10, Moonluck. Couple of starts so far under the belt. Number-wise, they were both pretty good. Couple of nice second-place finishes. So some good experience for this one. And by Malibu Moon, this is one of those horses definitely meant to win sooner rather than later. Similar situation with Majestic Warrior on top for the number 6, Red Supreme. This is kind of like the horse I had in the last race. 20-1 on the morning line, but I think there's some breeding here that makes this one very interesting. First couple of starts were on turf. They were going long, and they were also earlier this year. I think the fact that this horse has gotten a little time off may have gotten some added 3-year-old season maturity. And with Majestic Warrior on top, I think Red Supreme in this race could prove to be very, very interesting. I'm going to call a little 4-horse Exacta-Box play of the day in here, just mainly based on the fact that I think Red Supreme stands a chance of maybe getting up in there and surprising a little bit. So we'll box up the top 4, 7, 10, 6, and 2.
That's a look at the first 5 races. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the Big A.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're up to race number 6 this afternoon at the Big A. New York State Breds are 2-year-old fillies. Maiden special weights on the turf, racing a mile and 16.
And I will say I have a couple of AEs in here. They're the first 2 horses on, so all we need is 1 scratch, but they both looked like if they got in, they were certainly usable. So being the first 2 listed, I had to toss them in the mix. 4, 13, 14, and 7. If the AEs don't make it, the 2 will also get in my mix. But the number 4 on top for me, Summer Solo, first time out of the box for Christophe Clement. I definitely think there's some interesting breeding here. This one had a sibling called Adirondack Summer that was a debut winner. That was back in October 2010, going 7 furlongs on the turf. Another sibling called Sunrise Breezing, won the career debut, going 1 1/16 on the turf at Aqueduct in November of 2011. So it seems like the other siblings got to start a little later in the year on the turf, won their debuts. I think Summer Solo could be very, very interesting today for Christophe Clement, Joel Rosario on board. And then again, the 2 first AEs, number 13, Kelly's Prize. I just think the numbers are moving in the right direction. Nice second place finish last time. I think this David Donk runner is primed to go well if this one gets into the mix. Number 14, G-Note for John Kimmel was a good 4th place last time out, and was just behind Kelly's Prize. Again, if this one gets in with that start under the belt, nice experience there. Take Off Your Hat is going to be right underneath if those AEs don't get in. Another one off the career debut I think is primed to run well again today. So for me, as I say, putting in a couple of AEs because they're the first 2 there, and if they get in, definitely cannot ignore them. 4, 13, 14, and 7, the AEs don't get in. I will also consider the 2.
On to the 7th race. We have Open Company, 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares, claimers in for $35,000. Non-winners in 2 races a lifetime, or 3-year-olds on the dirt going 6.
4, 8, the 1 entry, and 5. The number 4 is Gnarly Girl. Just get some class relief for Tony Dutrow. Has been racing in optional claimer starter allowances at the 65 level the past couple of starts. Broke the maiden in a maiden special weight race back in June at Parks. That was 3 starts ago. I think this horse has shown enough numbers-wise and talent-wise that to drop in today for $35,000 is absolutely going to be a comfort zone. Second spot, we'll go out to the number 8, Evasive Cat. Claimed last time out by Laura Perillo. I've mentioned it within the past week, in fact. Laura Perillo, mark that name down. She is now the New York trainer for Midwest Thoroughbreds. So in this particular instance, the owner is a little more important to me than the trainer. First off the claim for the crafty claiming connections of Midwest Thoroughbreds. So I think Evasive Cat is going to be legitimate in here on that angle. And then in the 3rd spot, we'll go with that 1 entry. The plain 1 is Watercolors. The 1A is Trophy Point. And it's one of those where you look at these 2 horses going out for Guadalupe Preciado, and you compare them to horses in the rest of the field. They're both coming in from out of town, but I think they are both absolute fits in with this bunch today on the NYRA circuit. So in the 7th race, 4, 8, the 1 entry, and 5.
And talking about Laura Perillo, I think she was pretty much in place opening day at Belmont. I think
she's been there for a while.
Jamie Ness was never the listed trainer at Belmont Park.
That's probably about the time. Yeah, that's probably about the time he made the move out.
When just one of the sheets I keep are with trainers, and when her name came up, or his trainer, I immediately looked elsewhere. When I saw the ownership, I'm like, I didn't know if he had, what had come about, but I noticed that she had popped up on that first Saturday of September.
Yeah, and I said it, I think earlier this week, in fact, but I'll reiterate for folks who Jamie Ness just wanted to cut back. There wasn't, there's no problems or anything. Right. Yeah, Jamie Ness just didn't want to run a string in New York. He wanted to cut back it, so they brought in a New York trainer for their New York string, Midwest.
Now, I don't know who she was before this. Have you heard
I think she was assisting him, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so she got elevated then. 8th race this afternoon, 3-year-olds and up, Fillies and mares. Open Company optionals in for 25, non-winners of 1, going 6.5.
2, 1, 5, and 7. The number 2 is Ultimate Shopper. This is one of those you just kind of scratch your head. Will this horse live up to that incredible career debut? 99 buyer figure, won by over 12 lengths as the 9-5 favorite that day in a field of 7. That was October 3rd right here at Belmont. Comes back at 6.5 today. A repeat of that effort is certainly going to be enough. 7-5 on the morning line. I master the obvious here, and it could could go either way. Oh, and Anthony, you were asking about Mandy Pope. That's her, Whisper Hill Farm.
Whisper Hill Farm, that was your...
This is a Mandy Pope horse, and she's the one who was jumping in and buying some of those horses most recently at the Keeneland sale.
The aggregate for the broodmares she has bought...
Groupie Doll.
But that's like the 5th or 6th one. I mean, she has a handful, 7 figures the last 2 years.
Yeah, Ultimate Shopper's one of hers, and certainly looked pretty nice in that career debut. Again, a repeat of that is going to make Ultimate Shopper the winner here today. Number 1, Mary Meadow. What can you say? We got to go back quite a ways before you see this horse finishing out of an exacta finish. 9 starts so far this year. 7 of those have been either first or second. I think Mary Meadow is going to be up in the hunt again today. And then Finesse, the number 5 horse, also gets in the mix. Plenty of early speed, 3 career starts, a win and a third, and a dud last time when dropped into allowance company off of the maiden breaker back in June. Came back early in the Saratoga meet, non-winners of one other than, showed plenty of early speed going 1 mile and an eighth, and then faded very badly. I think the return to a sprint today is going to prove beneficial for Finesse on the comeback. In the 8th today, 2, 1, 5, and 7.
And in the finale, we have 3-year-olds and up fillies and mares, maiden special weights on the turf, going 1 mile and 16.
We'll go outside 10, 12, 2, and 8. The number 10 is Cat's Claw, goes out for Jonathan Shepard. I didn't bring it up. I was in here, I think it was Saturday, because it was in the Long Island Handicap. Shepard had a horse in, and I did not have the Shepard in the mix. And I meant to bring that up. I don't always pick the Shepards, but this is one that really intrigued me. Comes in off a debut effort at Delaware, a follow-up at Keeneland. And it's just the one that ran in the Long Island Handicap on Saturday did not have the scenario that I like to jump on. This one does, coming in from Mid-Atlantic or that Kentucky region off a couple of races that are okay, but is going to have to step up. This is that scenario. I think at 8-1 on the morning line, Cat's Claw could prove very, very interesting. Second spot, the number 12, the Blonde Peak, goes out for Christophe Clement, Joel Rosario. When Rosario jumped on board this horse last time, ran a good second. I think this horse is moving in the right direction number-wise. We'll have to overcome, however, that far outside post. And in the third spot, the number 2, Poster Girl, goes out for the aforementioned John Sheriffs for Will Farish. Another one where the buyer figures are moving in the right direction. 3 second-place finishes and has been getting closer to that win position each and every time over those last 3. Should run well again today. In the finale, race number 9 at Aqueduct, 10, 12, 2, and 8.
9 race card on this Wednesday afternoon as they return to racing at the Big A and Churchill Downs this afternoon on Capital Off-Track Betting. Our schedule kicks off with Finger Lakes at 12:15. Hopefully we'll have a little bit better weather this afternoon. The Big A at 12:20, followed by Laurel, Churchill Downs, Turf Paradise in Progress, Hawthorne, Penn National, Northfield, Pocono, Saratoga, Racino, along with Woodbine Thoroughbreds in the evening, and Australia A and Australia B tonight. Also, go to CapitalOTB.com for any of the selections from Seth and I and the Handicappers Report. Just click on the right-hand side, and they will scroll down for you, follow throughout the afternoon. Later on today, you also get selections for tomorrow from Jeff Carl at Churchill Downs and Seth at the Big A. Also, we talked about the CapitalOTBBet.com. We have a customer service phone line, and also we're inviting you to send your thoughts and questions that you have concerning the new website to our viewer mail at CapitalOTB.com. We'll gather them for a couple of days, and we'll see which type of question seems to be going to the forefront. And Seth and I will take a little time out.
There are questions. I certainly haven't had any problems, and I've heard good feedback from the website. But some people out there, I'm sure, the transition is always a little bit different. And so, as I said earlier, if you do have a question or
We're
concern,
here to help.
Yeah, give us a shout, because I haven't had any problems with the website. So it's hard for me to try to decide what to point to give people some advice or address some concerns. So if you do have a question about the website, what you need to click to get where, again, give us a shout. Viewer mail at capitalotv.com.
Yeah, I usually find, especially with the technology world, since that has been a new world for nearly everybody walking the planet the last 15, 20 years, they seem to gather in small pockets. And it's not as haphazard all over the board. There seems to be a stumbling block that repeats itself, et cetera. Because I've said it before. Talking about websites, you take Churchill Downs. I mean, they host the most famous race in the world. Good luck trying to find their program changes, which you would think daily would be, unbelievably important. Yet, if you're not tuned into it, you can't find it. That's not a good starting point.
Don't get me started. The most basic. There are various racetrack websites I go to very often to find what to me is the most basic piece of information: the calendar. What days are you racing? What is your, and just finding that on a lot of.
And I'll tell you, that's what we've talked about NYRA when they changed theirs up. That they really the few changes, the types of changes they made. I said one of the keys. I like to revert back to the Picasso line of the early 20th century. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. It's like you look at one that you like, say, okay, I like that little thing. Don't like that. I like that. Then when you go to do yours, you say, all right, what are all the good ideas? And I think in horse racing, and almost any, it's always the same idea, is when your customer is looking at the site, you have to have immediate click-ons to the things that they most often want to find. At NYRA, what they moved were scratches it was a one-click to find scratches. And most other racing websites, they don't. Calendar, when are you racing? That's an interesting thought. When are you open? Seth, who do you have on Racing Across America today?
Jeremy Plonk, regular visit from him. We're going to look back at that Hollywood preview because that has certainly been a buzz race with shared belief.
He was good.
And now announced he's going to be heading to the Cash Call Futurity. And then we'll use that as...
Could he win a 2-year-old championship?
That's a good... Well, no, I don't think so, because I don't know whether the Cash Call matches up with the Breeders' Cup. So, but certainly he's going to be interesting. A win off of that puts him in the driver's seat for being an interesting horse moving into next year.
Does.
And we're going to use that race to jump off and look at a couple other 2-year-olds that have won some stakes races, but maybe floating a little bit under the radar for folks. And then Gene Kirshner from the Buffalo News.
What's interesting, I'll wrap this up quickly, and has been really for the history of the Hollywood Futurity, is you have to make an immediate decision that, and I think they're making a decision, which means I have to stay in training. They're going to not get a break from Thanksgiving through all things going well, the Kentucky Derby. When you choose to go forward for the Cash Call Futurity, you're giving up the December, January break.
Which means, assuming they're going to stick with 21st century training, they're going to get a break and maybe not come back to March, which then means...
Well, he's only going to run 2 times before the Derby.
Yeah, which then means you're putting yourself in a position of, you got to get some points.
Well,
there can't be a stumbling
we started
block.
talking about this years ago when we were working weekends, that the question that seemed to be looming was, would 2 prep races or 3 prep races become the norm? And I think we've had the answer. It's 2. Surprised me. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the Handicappers Report. Up next, Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.